Ricky Davis, born Tyree Ricardo Davis in Las Vegas, eventually moved to Iowa, where he became a local basketball sensation. At North High School in Davenport, he quickly made a name for himself. By his freshman year, he was already playing on the varsity team, and by his junior and senior years, he led his team to the Iowa State tournament. While he didn't win a championship, it was clear Ricky was a serious NBA prospect. He committed to play college basketball for the Iowa Hawkeyes. At 6 feet 6 inches with a 42-inch vertical leap, Ricky was finally allowed to play his natural position on the wing rather than being stuck near the basket like in high school. In his freshman year, he averaged a team-high 15 points per game, surprising fans and scouts with his athleticism and scoring ability. But just as people were getting excited about his college future, Ricky shocked everyone by declaring for the NBA draft after only one season. Many experts thought it was a bad decision. NBA scouts believed he wasn't ready, especially since he had just transitioned from high school center to college wing. But despite the doubts, Ricky was selected 21st overall in the 1998 NBA draft by the Charlotte Hornets. At just 19 years old, he entered the league full of confidence, but also unprepared for the challenges ahead. Early in his rookie season, Ricky struggled to find his place. The Hornets already had talented players, and their coach Paul Silas didn't give him much playing time. Davis preferred a free, unstructured style of basketball, which didn't fit into the team system. However, one player, Bobby Phills, took Ricky under his wing. Bobby was a respected veteran who offered both on-court guidance and life advice, becoming an important mentor in Ricky's early career. Eventually, Coach Silas gave Ricky a real chance, allowing him to play a full 40-minute game. Ricky made the most of it, showcasing his explosive dunks, smooth shooting, and late-game clutch plays. That night proved he had the raw talent to succeed in the NBA, and it seemed like the beginning of a promising career. After showing flashes of talent during his rookie year, Ricky Davis looked like he might be turning the corner. But everything changed on January 12, 2000, when his mentor Bobby Phills tragically died in a car accident. The loss deeply affected Ricky. To make matters worse, Coach Paul Silas started cutting his minutes. Before the tragedy, Ricky had been averaging 16 minutes per game. Afterward, he was barely seeing 7 minutes on the court. Then, during the playoffs against the 76ers, he didn't play a single minute. It was a crushing blow to a young player hoping to prove himself. Not long after that, the Hornets traded Ricky to the Miami Heat. But things didn't improve. He broke his foot in a preseason drill, and when he returned, he only played 7 games, posting unimpressive stats. It seemed like his career was spiraling. Then came another trade, this time to the Cleveland Cavaliers, a team that most people thought would be his last stop in the NBA. But in Cleveland, something surprising happened. Head coach John Lucas saw past Ricky's reputation and gave him a real opportunity. Coach Lucas began playing him 20 minutes a game. Ricky responded by averaging 8.6 points per game. Then, in a breakout game against the Detroit Pistons, he dropped 28 points. That performance changed everything. Lucas upped Ricky's minutes to over 28 a game, and his scoring average jumped to 15.1. When starting shooting guard Lamond Murray got injured, Ricky took his spot and kept improving. He dropped 35 points against the defending champion Lakers, then 32 against the Pacers. He finished the season strong and signed a 6-year, $34 million contract, the biggest of his career. Cleveland was building around young talent. They brought in high-flying Darius Miles, drafted forward Carlos Boozer, and traded away Lamond Murray to give Ricky a bigger role. Davis responded with his best scoring season ever. He scored 45 points against the Bucks, 42 against the Celtics, and another 42 against the Pistons. These were huge numbers, especially in the early 2000s when scoring wasn't as high as today. But while Ricky was putting up stats, there was a major issue. He was playing selfishly. He averaged 20.5 points per game, but it took him 18 shots a night to get there. Coach Lucas even suspended him for 2 games to send a message. But Ricky didn't change. His obsession with stats hit a low point during a game against the Utah Jazz. He was 1 rebound away from a triple-double, so he purposely shot the ball at his own basket, missed, grabbed the rebound, and hoped it would count. It didn't. But the message was clear. Davis was more focused on individual accomplishments than team success. Despite his personal numbers, the Cavaliers were awful, finishing with just 17 wins. But that failure brought a reward. The number 1 pick in the 2003 NBA draft, LeBron James. Davis, instead of welcoming the new face of the franchise, famously said, "I thought LeBron was just going to help me score." That attitude shocked fans and the front office. It was clear Ricky still saw himself as the star. Then, to make things worse, Cleveland hired coach Paul Silas again, someone who already had doubts about Ricky's team-first mentality. At first, Ricky played alongside LeBron, even assisting on LeBron's first-ever NBA field goal. But when LeBron had his first bad game, tensions grew. Davis didn't hide his frustration with playing second fiddle, and his resistance to working with LeBron led to him being suspended again. That was the final straw. The Cavaliers traded him to the Boston Celtics. When he arrived in Boston, Ricky voiced his frustration. He believed the Cavs were supposed to be his team, and he didn't understand why LeBron had taken over. He said, "I thought LeBron was just going to be another addition to the team helping me score. I guess it was different." That comment summed up Ricky's biggest flaw. He never wanted to adapt or share the spotlight. No matter how good he was, his mindset was holding him back. After being traded to the Boston Celtics, Ricky Davis had a chance to start over. Many expected problems, since his reputation for being selfish followed him. But to everyone's surprise, Celtics head coach Jim O'Brien was impressed. He said Ricky was actually coachable and eager to work hard. For the first time in a while, Davis found himself in a system that allowed him to grow as both a player and a teammate. Ricky responded well, quickly making an impact on the court. He dropped 32 points against the Sacramento Kings and became one of Boston's most consistent offensive weapons. The Celtics, even though they only won 36 games, still made the playoffs due to a weak Eastern Conference. Ricky was finally getting his chance to play in the postseason, and he made the most of it, averaging 14.1 points during a tough series against the Indiana Pacers, even though Boston got swept 4-0. With the 2004 to 2005 season approaching, the Celtics made a big move by hiring former Orlando Magic coach Doc Rivers, hoping to take the team to the next level. The team also brought in veteran point guard Gary Payton, a defensive legend who had once led the Seattle Supersonics to the NBA Finals. Alongside them, Ricky Davis had the perfect opportunity to shine, and this time, he embraced it. Under Doc Rivers, Ricky started playing more unselfishly. While he still had flashy moments, like his missed between-the-legs dunk followed by a windmill putback, he was learning when to use his skills and when to trust the system. One of his best moments came when he hit a game winner against the Memphis Grizzlies, a shot he wouldn't let Coach Rivers stop hearing about. As the season progressed, Davis was no longer the selfish gunner he had been in Cleveland. He learned to play second fiddle to Paul Pierce, the team's franchise player, and became a reliable sixth man. In fact, he finished second in Sixth Man of the Year voting, a clear sign of his growth and acceptance around the league. Then came the 2005 NBA playoffs. The Celtics were once again matched up with the Indiana Pacers. After winning Game 1, Boston lost Game 5, putting them one game away from elimination. In Game 6, they needed someone to step up, and Ricky did. Instead of forcing shots, he played smart basketball. He let the game come to him, picked his moments, and scored 22 critical points, keeping Boston's hopes alive. Unfortunately, in Game 7, the Celtics as a whole collapsed, and Indiana ended their season for the third straight year. Still, Ricky Davis had earned respect. He was no longer just a highlight reel player, he was a key piece on a playoff team. As the 2005 to 2006 season began, Doc Rivers rewarded Ricky's effort by making him a full-time starter. And Davis delivered, averaging nearly 20 points and over 5 assists per game, including several 30-plus point performances. It looked like he had fully matured, both on and off the court. But elsewhere, another change was coming, this time in Minnesota. Superstar Kevin Garnett, frustrated with his team's direction and chemistry issues, wanted change. He wasn't getting along with teammate Wally Szczerbiak, and the front office knew something had to give. So, halfway through the season, they made a big trade, sending Szczerbiak to Boston and bringing Ricky Davis to the Timberwolves. Most players would be upset being traded again, especially mid-season. But Ricky was excited. He finally had a chance to play alongside a hall of fame-level talent like Kevin Garnett. And KG quickly made Ricky understand what being part of a real team was all about. The Wolves didn't need Ricky to be the top scorer, they needed him to be consistent and efficient. And for a while, Davis embraced that role. Still, Minnesota wasn't winning. Their slow, post-focused offense revolved around Garnett, and Ricky's scoring numbers dipped. The team missed the playoffs again, and the Wolves continued to struggle. But Ricky didn't complain. In fact, during the 2006 to 2007 season, he began to enjoy his role. He averaged 17 points and nearly 5 assists per game, while shooting almost 40% from three. One highlight came in a game against the Orlando Magic, where Ricky scored 36 points, including 13 straight, and hit the game winner. It was one of the best games of his career. Even with Ricky's efforts, the Timberwolves were going nowhere. They finished with just 32 wins and decided it was time to rebuild. That summer, Minnesota made a blockbuster trade, sending Kevin Garnett to the Celtics. Ironically, Ricky Davis was also traded back to the Miami Heat. The same team that had once given up on him was now ready to give him another shot. When Ricky Davis returned to the Miami Heat in 2007, it felt like a full-circle moment. The team that once gave up on him was now willing to give him another chance. This time, Davis wasn't just another young scorer looking for minutes. He was a veteran with years of experience and lessons learned from both failure and growth. Pat Riley, now coaching the team, was eager to make up for the past. He believed Ricky had matured, and Ricky was excited to play alongside Dwayne Wade and Shaquille O'Neal, both NBA champions and superstars. For the first time in his career, Ricky started to fully embrace the idea of team basketball. He wasn't just hunting for shots anymore. He picked his moments, played within the system, and let the game come to him. In a game against the Washington Wizards, Davis exploded for 33 points, hitting 9 three-pointers, a massive achievement in the pre-three-point era of the late 2000s. He was shooting nearly 40% from beyond the arc, finally proving he could be a valuable piece of a system rather than its center. But just as things seemed to be turning around, everything started to fall apart in Miami. First, veteran Alonzo Mourning suffered a career-ending knee injury. Then, Dwayne Wade, the team's star guard, missed most of the season recovering from surgeries on both his shoulder and knee. And finally, Shaquille O'Neal's relationship with Pat Riley deteriorated quickly. Shaq made things worse by saying he was glad to be playing with professionals in Phoenix, taking a clear shot at teammates like Ricky Davis. With their top players out or gone, the Heat collapsed. Despite Ricky's best efforts, the team finished with a disastrous 15-67 record, the worst in the league. Ricky had played well, but it didn't matter. The team around him was falling apart, and there was nothing he could do about it. Still, Davis didn't give up. He signed with the Los Angeles Clippers the following year, hoping for a fresh start. But now his body was starting to break down. After years of high-flying dunks, relentless drives, and heavy minutes, injuries began to take their toll. For the first time in his career, Ricky missed long stretches of the season. His production dropped, and he was no longer the explosive scorer he once was. After his contract ended in 2010, no NBA team picked him up. Even so, Ricky wasn't done with basketball. He continued to chase his dream by playing in the NBA's Development League and taking his talents overseas. He still had the skills, the experience, and the fire. But the NBA had moved on. The league now favored more efficient, team-first players, and Davis's reputation from earlier in his career still haunted him. Looking back, Ricky Davis's story is both inspiring and tragic. He had all the tools, size, athleticism, scoring ability, but struggled for years to understand that basketball is a team game. Ironically, as he matured and finally became the kind of player every team wants, a role player who could stretch the floor, pass, and support stars like Paul Pierce, Kevin Garnett, and Dwayne Wade, his body gave out and his chances were gone. And then there's the biggest what if of all. What if Ricky Davis had been willing to work with LeBron James? Back in 2003, LeBron was a teenage prodigy with all the hype in the world. Cleveland hoped Ricky and LeBron would be a powerful duo, a one-two punch that could carry the franchise. But Ricky didn't want to be the two. He wanted the spotlight all to himself. Instead of adapting, he resisted. And in the end, that decision may have cost him more than just a job. It may have cost him a championship. Because years later, LeBron would lead the Cavaliers to the NBA Finals in 2007 without a real second star. Many still wonder, if Ricky had accepted that role and learned to play like he did in Boston and Miami, could he have helped LeBron win a title in Cleveland? Could his story have ended with a ring instead of a regret? We'll never know for sure. But one thing's certain, Ricky Davis was one of the most gifted players of his era, and also one of the greatest examples of how talent alone is never enough in the NBA. Teamwork, mindset, and timing matter just as much, maybe even more.